Alright, so today we're going to be going over a ranked drafting guide. So as you can see, I've hit Masters a few times now, and I just want to help you, those who are struggling, to get to Masters or Legendary. So right now, I'm only in Legendary 2, I haven't pushed that far yet, but it's still going to give you a good idea on how to draft. So let's get into a match. So my roster is relatively wide, so if you don't have as many brawlers as me, that's okay. But what matters is that you have a good variety of brawlers instead. So in Canal Grande, we have a teammate who is first pick. Let's see if he wants to pick anything. If not, probably just gonna ban something like Juju, because it's a very strong pick. Still hasn't been nerfed. Okay, Penny Tick, not bad bans. They ban Juju as well, that's fine. Now, usually I don't like to suggest brawlers because you want your teammates to play comfortable brawlers unless they're flashing like a terrible brawler. Okay, Eve, that's a pretty good pick. Spike it's okay. So I like Dynamite into the Spike, you know. If people are thinking Edgar, I'm not so sure about that. Gale is okay to prevent the last pick. Now for me, I would not recommend picking Surge. I mean, it's okay. But if Surge is a comfort brawler, this is a very neutral matchup, so many brawlers can be good into this. But that's why I'm picking Surge, because it's my comfort, brawler's my main. But if you don't like Surge, that's completely okay. You can pick something like Gus, Carl, anything really, like Shade, but I'm pretty bad on Shade since I just maxed him. Okay, Kenji into Poco. Wow, I did not realize he picked Poco. But that just gives you an example of how your draft can go. Clearly our teammates, they picked some interesting brawlers, but don't back out because they could be pretty good on him. So I'm going to cut to my mini where I'm going to show you a more limited drafting roster. Okay, so this is how the match went, and it ended up going better than I expected. I played decently. I ended up dying a lot. But our teammates, although despite their poor stats, they played really well in keeping pressure when they needed to and not dying near the end in the clutch moments. Our opponents, they played relatively decent. So now I'm going to show you an example of a more limited account on my mini. That's also at Legendary, and I'll show you how I got there using the brawlers I had. So this is my mini, and I've hit Legendary a few times on it. My peak elo isn't that high because I really haven't been compelled to push just because of my poor roster. Obviously Buzz Lightyear doesn't count, but mainly I just have tanks maxed. My only long range picks are Byron, Colt, Angelo.
Nice
I just
headshot.
maxed Daryl and Angelo, but I wouldn't say I'm very proficient on them yet. So I usually don't pick them. I tend to stick to my main brawlers. But here, I'll show you one example of drafting with a poor roster like this one. Okay, so we have Knockout out in the open. Obviously no modifier. So we're first pick. That means we immediately want to pick a good brawler. My only good long range is right now is Angelo. Byron would be a good pick, but he's not maxed. No, he doesn't have any gadgets or star powers, as you can see. For that reason, I'm going to ban Jean or Nani. Nani's a pretty good counter to Piper and Angelo, especially left unchecked. Alright, I have Angelo. That's very optimal, but usually I don't get Angelo. Let's see what our opponent's picks do. That's not very good because you don't have the range, even if you might think you can have the aggro for it. Oh, they quit. Alright, that was a good small example. I'll show you another example of how I pick. Same map. Wow. Canal Grande Bounty. We're also first pick. So let's see what our teammate wants to play. I'm already thinking of banning Juju again. Maybe Shade. But Juju's usually... Oh, he wants to play Eve. That's good. Juju is usually much more oppressive, especially with that super. 7k HP with a shield or slow. Eve is a good idea. Wow, this person has a large roster. So now that we already have someone that can go in the water, I'm not necessarily thinking Angelo. I'm more thinking an aggro, especially now that they picked a low damage brawler like Penny and a thrower like Dynamite. I know it's ranked, but Edgar is a good pick here. Buzz is fine, but he just doesn't get a super quick enough in my opinion. So that's why I'm picking Edgar. Gus is okay. I would pick an aggro here instead. But it's whatever. See, now they made another mistake. They picked another low damage, mid health into my Edgar. So unless they all team up and hit me perfectly, they're not going to kill me very often. So I'll cut to when the match is over. Alright, so this is how the match ended up going. Just as I predicted, because my Edgar, they just really couldn't do anything. I died twice to the Dynamite. Didn't really matter. My teammates played well in keeping control, but the opponents, they really just couldn't do anything because of my Edgar. I just kept healing, they couldn't kill me, and they kind of just got bullied. But this was not a great example of a tough ranked match, but this is just showing how drafting can help you get the edge, and obviously like your skill level, and especially proficiency with brawlers does matter. But in here, drafting really just hammered my opponents away.
Great. Now
that is a quick drafting guide. I could present many examples in a later video, but that's just a quick show of what you need to be looking for. The class system is actually pretty helpful, and I'd say they're made pretty well, except I mean like Byron, Gus, those are definitely long ranges. Support brawlers, this is definitely a damage dealer, and heist pick maybe. But besides that, most of these brawlers are pretty well placed in the class. So I would highly recommend looking into that. And when maxing brawlers, like, oh, I have a lot of tanks, I need a tank counter, let me max Nita or Shelly, or I need a good control Rico, or I need a good mid 8-bit, something like that. And that's just how you'd be looking, especially what you're facing in ranked. But that's a quick guide in getting you to legendary or masters, whichever you're stuck at. But yeah, and even if you have a terrible roster like mine, or maybe your roster is even worse, I wouldn't be discouraged. I would just say it is a little bit harder with a smaller roster, but even those with a big roster aren't guaranteed masters or legendaries. So that's what I would say. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.